The soft hum of the cafe filled the silence that surrounded Daniel as he sat alone at the corner table, staring at the flickering candle between two untouched cups of coffee. Rain tapped lightly against the wide glass windows, casting silver reflections on the wooden floor. His hands were clasped around a warm mug that had long gone cold, but he barely noticed. Every time the door opened, his eyes lifted with hope, then dropped again when it wasn't her. The world outside was moving, but Daniel's world stood still. The truth was simple yet heavy: she wasn't coming. Or so he thought. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the beauty of unexpected moments, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Thread. Let's spread stories that remind us hope still exists. It had been nearly an hour since Daniel arrived. He wasn't a man who went on blind dates often. He wasn't the romantic risk-taker type. At 34, he had learned that love could be unpredictable, and sometimes painful. His last relationship had ended in quiet heartbreak. His fiancée had left just weeks before the wedding, saying she needed to find herself. Daniel didn't blame her, but the wound she left behind had taken years to heal. So when his best friend convinced him to try again, to meet someone new, someone who might change everything, he agreed, though deep down, he doubted anything would come of it. The cafe was warm, filled with the smell of roasted coffee beans and cinnamon pastries. Around him, laughter and conversation blended into a gentle hum of life. But Daniel sat in stillness, his eyes tracing the rim of his cup, wondering why he even tried. Maybe love just wasn't for him anymore. Maybe the world had moved on, and he was still clinging to an old version of himself who believed in forever. He glanced at the small card his friend had given him earlier that morning. Her name's Emily, it read, followed by a simple description: kind, single mom, loves books and rainy days. Something about that had made him curious. Maybe it was the single mom part. He had always admired strength in people who carried both responsibility and hope. But now, as he looked around the cafe, no one seemed to fit that description. Every woman who entered was either with someone or walked straight to the counter, oblivious to the men sitting quietly in the corner, waiting for a date who never came. He sighed, pulled out his phone, and opened his messages. Still nothing. Maybe she changed her mind. Maybe she saw his photo and decided against it. He wouldn't blame her. He put his phone face down and leaned back, trying to convince himself it didn't matter. Yet, deep down, disappointment burned quietly in his chest. Then, just as he was about to leave, the cafe door swung open with a soft chime, and a little girl, no older than 4, walked in. Her tiny pink dress was slightly wet from the rain, and her golden curls clung to her cheeks. She looked around the room with big, curious eyes before locking her gaze on Daniel. For a moment, he thought she was lost. But then she walked straight toward his table with a confidence that made him pause. She stopped in front of him, clutching a small stuffed rabbit, and said softly, "My mommy's sorry she's late." Daniel blinked, unsure what to say. His heart softened instantly. Before he could respond, the girl climbed into the chair across from him and rested her rabbit on the table. She said she'll be here soon. She had to park the car. He smiled, amused and touched. The tension in his chest loosened as he nodded. Oh, he whispered to himself, so she did come. The little girl looked around with wonder, her feet swinging under the table. "I like this place," she said, tracing her finger along the candle holder. "It smells like cookies." Daniel chuckled softly, unable to resist her innocence. There was something deeply comforting about her presence, like she carried light wherever she went. A few minutes later, the door opened again. This time, a woman hurried in, slightly out of breath, her coat glistening with raindrops. Her hair, dark and loose, framed a face that was both tired and kind. She spotted the table instantly, her eyes wide with apology as she approached. "I'm so sorry," she said, her voice warm but anxious. Traffic was terrible, and Lily insisted on bringing her rabbit. Daniel stood up quickly. "It's all right," he said, smiling. "You're here now." As she sat down, their eyes met, and for a moment, the rest of the cafe faded away. Emily had a quiet strength about her, the kind that didn't need to be announced. It was written in the soft lines around her eyes, in the way she gently brushed her daughter's hair aside, and in how she smiled even when tired. The conversation began awkwardly, as blind dates often do. But soon, laughter found its way in. Emily told him about her work as a children's book illustrator, about how Lily loved bedtime stories and refused to sleep without her rabbit. Daniel shared bits of his own life, his job as an architect, his passion for sketching old buildings, and how he often spent weekends helping his neighbor fix things around the house. They discovered small, surprising connections, both loved quiet mornings, hated saying goodbye, and believed that good people still existed, even in a noisy world. As the rain poured harder outside, the cafe grew dimmer and cozier. Lily dozed off on the seat beside her mother, her head resting on Emily's lap. Emily's voice softened when she spoke of her past, how she had been married young, how life had taken unexpected turns, and how she had learned to build peace from brokenness. Daniel listened quietly, feeling something he hadn't felt in years, a calm sense of belonging. Hours passed unnoticed. By the time they stepped out into the rainy night, the city lights shimmered through puddles on the sidewalk. Emily held Lily close, her umbrella tilting slightly as they walked beside Daniel toward the parking lot. There was no grand romantic gesture, no dramatic goodbye, just a lingering warmth in their words, and a shared silence that spoke more than any confession could. That night, as Daniel lay in bed, he replayed the moment Lily had walked up to him. "My mommy's sorry she's late." Those words echoed in his mind, not as an apology, but as fate's whisper that sometimes, life's best moments come after waiting. Over the next few weeks, Daniel and Emily saw each other often. They met for walks in the park, Sunday breakfasts, and small adventures that made ordinary days feel special again. Lily adored Daniel, calling him Mr. Dan, and insisting he join her tea parties. For Daniel, every moment spent with them slowly stitched his heart back together. The loneliness that once filled his evenings was replaced by laughter, bedtime stories, and the sweet chaos of belonging. Months later, on a bright spring afternoon, Daniel took Emily and Lily to the same cafe where they first met. The candle flickered again between 2 cups of coffee, but this time, the seat across from him wasn't empty. Lily giggled beside her mother, and Emily smiled softly at him. "Funny how everything started here," she said. Daniel nodded, his voice low. "Yeah. I almost gave up that night." She reached across the table, taking his hand. "Sometimes," she whispered, "the best things just run a little late." Daniel smiled, his eyes glistening. He realized that what he thought was an accident of timing was actually life's gentle reminder that love, when it's meant to be, always finds its way, sometimes through a little girl with a stuffed rabbit and a message that changed everything. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Thread. Every small act of engagement helps us spread hope and love to more people who need it. Before you go, comment below, do you believe some people are destined to meet, no matter how long it takes? As the rain began to fall again outside that little cafe, Daniel looked at Emily and Lily and knew, some stories don't start on time. They start when your heart is finally ready to receive them.